Yesterday we were talking about the legacy and then how the SD-WAN is solving those challenges which legacy stuff does have. So to connect you back that how it is solving the previous challenges that Viptela established an overlay network across a different transport in order to allow the policy to be consistently designed and applied. What does it mean by that? It builds in its own fabric on top of the different transport. So to make the consistency across it's an overlay framework. So this overlay, building up this overlay is helping overall to make sure that we can run the separate routing from the transport internet, I mean transport versus the uh, overlay fabric. So, right, so we call it underlay and overlay. So the underlay where your transport does exist, which includes the MPLS internet and other transport. However, the other what we talk about is the we can utilize the best transport to satisfy the business intent. Is that, let's say I do have the SAP, or I do have the voice traffic which I want to make sure that I want to send on a specific transport, I can send it. Rest all the traffic can be sent on the uh is the is on the link which is not providing the same latency or the jitter or the packet loss equal to the one which the MPLS is providing. That's why overall it is helping us to save the cost as well, because we are utilizing all of the link at the same time, utilizing that overlay and making sure the businesses is still meeting their requirement. So that's how the SD-WAN is solving overall those challenges. So I'll connect you a little bit off on further is that SD-WAN solution overview and component. With the Cisco SD-WAN solution, it provides a separation in each level. Number one is the separation in orchestration level, separation at the management plane, separation in the control plane, and separation in the data plane. Now I will explain you each of these plane and what the component sits on these plane, and how do they operate. So here, just to connect you, is that entire solution is being split into the four plane. We call it the orchestration, which is totally independent to the other plan. Similarly, the uh, management plan is separate to the other three plans. So all these plans are separate, and what does it mean by that? They are independent by that, right? So if either of the plan lost, they will remain be working, right? So what is the orchestration plan and how does it operate? Is that orchestration is responsible for basically let me take this. So orchestration layer or plan provides the automatic onboarding of the SD-WAN router into the SD-WAN enabled overlay. What does it mean by that? Is that if you have the, let's say, uh, a environment which you are building up a complex or bigger environment, previously what you were doing is that you go on each device, manually configure and bring up into the SD-WAN fabric. No. Now what we are doing is that automatic onboarding. What does it mean? That the device will be connected to the network, it will be automatically joining your routing, and it would be automatically pushing the configuration, and it will be further able to capable to forward the traffic. So you don't need to go and do the manual configuration. You don't need to do anything on the device will automatically join your fabric. That's what we call it a orchestration. Now who operate on this, there is a component called a vbond. We will show you that vbond and other stuff. So what does it mean by that? If I do have, let's say, a one your entire corporate network, that's where different sites are connected like this on this one, and all these sites are coming, either some of them are MPLS, some of them are internet, and top of all those different links, I am building up this entire SDN fabric. On top of this, the different routing. So for an example, if it is the internet, I do have a one routing of the internet. That's where internet is coming here, you know. And similarly, here I do have a, a MPLS. Now, what I'm doing is that on top of MPLS and internet or any other type of the media, I'm building up the one overlay, which is the secure SD-WAN overlay. Now, if I want to onboard the a new site on my fabric by providing the internet connectivity, it can join the fabric, but there has to be a certain mechanism to ensure that anyone what we call it miscellaneous doesn't join the SD-WAN fabric, to make sure that we protect it. So for protecting, they have put the certain mechanism which we will talk about in a moment. Okay, so orchestration here is sitting on the internet to let it validate before it join the SD-WAN fabric. Okay, so next one is that we have a management plan. Management plan help in a central configuration and monitoring of the SD-WAN component. What does it mean by that? This is the one plan which will be responsible to allow you a kind of the tool to put the configuration on entire different devices, or you know doing one go configuration across all of your WAN infrastructure, plus the monitoring of all those components, monitoring of all your entire WAN. So let's say you have 100 site, you have a 200 site, entire WAN visibility will be seen by one single pane of glass. That's what we call it a management plan. So any configuration changes happening across all either of the place in your SD-WAN infrastructure or in your WAN infrastructure are being taken care by management plan. Next, what we have is the control plan. Control plan is a helpful in a building and maintaining a network topology, and based on the control plan takes a decision for all the traffic flow. So what does it mean by that? There is a separate plan which is responsible for instructing your remote router that that's how you should forward the traffic. So what does it mean by that? This one is a responsible that how your routing should be exchanged, how your topology should look like. And once your routing is being exchanged, then next comes into the data plane. That's where your data plane, the router which is sitting on your remote locations, is responsible for forwarding the traffic based on the decision which it got from the control plane, right? So what does it mean by that? That first you got the onboarding, right? You onboard the device. Second is that you are pushing the configuration on the device. And third one is that you are saying that, okay, now this is how your routing will look like. And then further you are saying that, okay, now routing done, onboarding done, configuration done, forward the traffic. That's where your data plan will come up. So orchestration, management plan, control plan, data plan. Now how they are separate, we will talk in a moment that how they are separate and what is the benefit of keeping them separate. Okay, so next what we have the component within the entire solution is that if you look here is the B bond sitting here is the responsible for onboarding device. Okay, now it says, okay, I have validated few parameter, you are legitimate device, let me forward you to the management plan. So this guy will forward the device further to the management plan. Now what management plan is going to say is that this is your configuration and this is your control plan mechanism, so you need to go to the control plan piece. Now control plan is going to respond with the full routing information exchange, and once the routing is being done, of course you are capable to talk to the last layer, which is the data plan, which is your remote different offices versus the data center, right? So first plan is the will come into the picture is that whenever the new device is coming is the orchestration. Second plan come in the functionality is the management, and third plan will come into the control plan, and then last is that you are ready to forward the data. Okay. Any questions so far on this before I move on the next slide? Guys, I would prefer if you speak instead of just typing. That will really helpful for me. Thank you. So next what we have as in the uh, different components sitting on each individual plane, what they are, their name is, and what they are doing in it. So like I was connected you back, is that this is a secure virtual IP fabric for the Steven Secure Essential Network is made up to the four fundamental components. So like I was saying is that is the we have a transport as in a physical, and top of that the overlay is built up is actually a virtual one. It's the fabric, right? It's not the physical network. It's the something a virtualization is built. I mean, when I say the virtualization is a virtual component, virtual logical uh, messing of the technology is built up so that you can forward the traffic, right? Now who is responsible for what is that if you look here, the vmanage, the vmanage is the nms network management system, is a centralized network management system that lets you configure manage the entire overlay network from a single graphical dashboard. Hey, give me one moment. So vmanage is basically is giving you a one single dashboard and saying that okay, now you can manage your 100 200 1000 2000 sites from one point of the GUI stuff. So it is not only giving you the configuration tool, it is also giving you a tool to view your entire your van from one location, from one GUI, right? So it is helping a lot instead of looking each individual 2000 devices for anything. Or similarly, if you want to make the changes across your globe, let's say you want to make a changes in a ACL across the globe, you want to post something related to the either ACL or SNMP, you can directly post the configuration from one location and all of the device will see that configuration. So it is providing a huge tool from the automation point of view or to manage entire infrastructure from one location, right? So overall, if you look, you are pushing, you are logging in on 2000 devices and making a changes versus you are logging on one device and making a changes and saying that okay, all the all the devices are replicated with this change is a huge resource utilization difference, right? Similarly, and then of course the time consuming and all those stuff, right? Next, what it is also helping, there is the other solution controller which we call it a vSmart controller. This vSmart controller is the centralized brain of Cisco SDN solution and controlling the flow of data traffic throughout the network. The vSmart controller works with the vBond orchestrator to authenticate Cisco VS devices as they join the network and orchestrate connectivity among the VS router. What does it mean by that? vSmart, since it is the it is operating at the control plane level, it become a brand. Why? Because control plane is the one of the key attribute which instruct your how your data should be forwarded, right? And since it is instructing each of the VS devices or each of the data plane devices, it got more power to influence or to make any changes whichever it want to. So for an example, let's see, I have a SD-WAN fabric like this. I'm setting up vmanage. I'm setting up the B bond, and I'm setting up the vSmart VS. Okay. Now I do have a device connect VH here. I'm drawing quickly a small diagram to give you the better understanding. Similarly, I do have other VH, and maybe I have hundreds of VHs, right? Now, what exactly is happening in this case is that each VS is peering with the vSmart. Now, since each VS is peering with the vSmart, what is happening? Let's see, this guy advertised 1098.21.x. What is going to be happen? This guy got the power to modify any attribute which was sent by the remote location. And after modifying, it can send to this guy or to send to all entire van, right? So what does it mean by that? It got the whole power because everything is relaying to this, and then further this is advertising to other. So it can change the decision uh, of selecting one route over the other route because it become a central point, right? So in a how does it act into the route reflector, right? In a route reflector, what we do have is that we have all the clients connected to the route reflector server, right? Now the client send the routing route to the route reflector server, and this route reflector server is further relaying that route to the other client, either by making a changes whatever you have influence as per your configuration, or if you have not, then it will relay simply the normal. Similarly, everything is pointed to the, so in this case vSmart work as in a route reflector server, and the VH work as in a route reflector client, right? Since server is receiving all of them, it can manipulate and send it. That's the one of the reason it become the brain of this entire solution. So whatever the decision it will make, and will send it to the other devices as an from the control plane information point of view, the other device will forward the traffic based, utilizing that control plane information, right? Any question on the vSmart? Since this is a one of the critical component, I want to make sure you guys understood that.
No, Shomik.
Okay, good. So next what we have is the bond orchestrator. Now let's take a bond orchestrator is the is holding a simple uh, responsibility, is that bond orchestrator automatically orchestrate connectivity of the VS router and the vSmart controller. If any VS router or vSmart controller is behind the net, the bond orchestrator also serves as a initial net reversal orchestrator. So what does it mean by that? If I have, let's say, extended SD-WAN fabric which I'm running here, and I do have plenty of sites which are already running, right? And I do have different controller, vBond, vSmart, and vManage, right? What if I want to join new device on this SD-WAN fabric, and this is coming over the internet? It will directly come to the bond. Bond will validate that the sum of the information, and will say that okay, you are the valid device. I can pass on to your vManage to pull out the configuration. It will pull the configuration directly to the device, and once the configuration is being pulled up, it will further pull the control plane information, right? And the last is the VS router, which is sitting at remote side and responsible for forwarding a data traffic. It's, you can say it is a replacement of your C router. So we have a four plane, and each plane is doing its own function, and they are independent to each other. Any question either on a vBond orchestrator or VS router?
Awesome.
Awesome. Next, what we have is the topology, which I have probably shown you into the demo as well. Is the We have a two site. I mean, one site which is the a branch, and other one is the data center. What we have is that we have a two internet connection on each of them, and branch is non-redundant in regards of the hardware. However, it is redundant from in regards of the transport. At the same time, data center is redundant from the hardware point of view. So what does it mean by that? Both the VSs can utilize both the transport and can send the traffic across both of them. That's how your topology would look like. Now the controller sitting on the internet can help you to onboard, can join the fabric, can push the configuration. Once everything is done, you can forward the traffic across this. Now how the traffic is basically is forwarded on that is that it build up the logical IPsec tunnel dynamically, right? So it build up IPsec dynamic tunnel and forward the traffic from the one side to the other side over that IPsec tunnel. Now the question may trigger that how SD-WAN is really helping in regards of the transport, right? So one, it is helping from the management point of view. It is helping to simplify the topology. Next, is that helping from the measure cost point of view? Yes, it is also helping from the measure cost point of view as in a transport. So let me give you an example. So let's take an example that I was having this instead of the internet. I was holding this as an MPLS. Okay, and this one was the internet. That's kind of the setup we had. We had DMVPN like this, and we have the uh, you know MPLS carrying out the other critical traffic, right? What we have is that DMVPN, we chooses that as a backup, and we send all the traffic on the MPLS, right? Because we know that MPLS is more reliable. Now let's think of that the for the internet, what I'm doing is that I'm not using, I'm paying still, right? What Steven is solving is that I can utilize both of the link at the same time, but at the same time I can meet the business requirement. So what does it mean by that? Let's say I have the voice traffic and I have SCP traffic, right? Now I want to send these two critical traffic, or maybe three or four depending on, over the MPLS. However, rest of the traffic can be load balance. So what is happening is that I am keeping the one internet and I'm keeping the one MPLS and meeting the business requirement utilizing both of the link at the same time, right? So I can reduce the overall bandwidth utilization from the MPLS point of view, and I can reuse the internet availability as well, right? And there are the different businesses which says that, hey, I don't need a MPLS at all. For me, the for me the internet is enough to achieve the services, right? Or to run the businesses. Then we can deploy both the internet and we can route the traffic across both the internet. That's how it is overall. If you have 100 or 1000 sites, it is helping a lot to save the transport cost. In addition to that, it is also helping since the service provider become out of picture, because I'm not sending any routing to the service provider. I'm not expecting service provider to make any changes for me specifically. I need the open internet which can route, let me build the IPsec tunnel and all those stuff. I can route my traffic over that and can avoid the service provider involvement. Service provider will be responsible for providing me a media only. That's it. Would not be taking care of my routing, would not be taking care of any changes related to the routing. So this simple topology depict the two sites and two public internet transport. The SD-WAN controller, the two vSmart and the vBond orchestrator along with the vManage management GUI that reside on the internet are reachable through either of the transport, right? At each side, VS router are used to directly connect to the available transport. The color is used to identify individual WAN transport. So what does it mean by that individual WAN transport is that if I have the one transport, I will give the one color, and it's the color is a significance in regards of that uniquely identifying that, okay, this is the transport where I need to send the traffic, right? Different WAN transport are assigned different color, such as a MPLS, private one, Biz Internet, Metro Ethernet, LTE, etc. The topology use the color called Biz Internet for one of the internet transport and public for the other one, right? So when every time we are involving a new transport on a site, we should be assigning the different color. We cannot have this twice the same color on the same VH, right? Any questions so far?
So we are good.
Awesome. So VS router form a DTLS tunnel or the TLS security control connection to the vSmart and other controller. Now the question was, let's think of that if I am setting up my controller, let's see, let me try it again. So here my all the controller are sitting, and all this is connected to the internet somehow. Okay. Now, if I am onboarding a device over the internet to my fabric, which is being built up top of the this thing, right? If I'm trying to talk to the controller like this into over the internet, whatever the information I'm exchanging with or the parameter, whatever I'm exchanging from my remote device, which is on the internet, plus the controller, which is also on the internet, how can I secure that communication? Anyone can read the packet in the over the internet and can pull out the information and can reuse that information for the next time, and can hijack my network. So what this Cisco SD-WAN does provide is that it allow the VS to build the dynamic tunnel, which is we call it DTLS, datagram transport layer security, or TLS, which is the again the upgraded version of SSL, right? So this works on a client and server basis where the certificates are being exchanged, some other information are being exchanged, and once that information is matching, then only they will exchange the other critical information. So that Office 365 use the TLS, any mail exchange now start using a TLS, other critical application start using a TLS because SSL become the older one. So to move on the further, they have come up with the TLS. Now the difference is that what to choose, either the DTLS or TLS, it's up to you. By default, it supports the DTLS, which is based on the UDP. However, you can use the TLS as well, which is based on the TCP, right? So you can select either of them to build the control connection. So what control connection I'm talking about, the path which is the the connection which is being logically built up between the remote VS to the SD-WAN controller or between the SD-WAN controller. So whenever any communication between the controller or to the controller is happening on this secure tunnel, right? However, the VS router securely connect to the VS with the IPsec tunnel that at the other side over each transport and BFD. So now if I have the SD-WAN fabric which is being built up and I do have a device here, right? And here, Now if this guy want to send the traffic to this guy, how the traffic will be forwarded, because at the end of the day all this is happening over the internet. So or the MPLS, what it does is that it initiate the IPsec tunnel dynamically, so it build the IPsec tunnel from the V edge to the V edge. Now that's how it, when it is sending a traffic, the traffic is encrypted over the internet or MPLS and then reach to the destination, right? Similarly, it also do is that on this IPsec tunnel, it run the BFD. What is that? Bidirectional forwarding detection. Protocol is enabled by default and will run over the each of these tunnel, detecting the loss, latency, and jitter path failure. So since this IPsec tunnel is built up, now to monitor the latency, jitter, and packet loss or any path failure, it run the BFD and check that the collect the statistics of the BFD to see that how much time it is taking in regards of the latency, in regards of the jitter and path failure, so that it can reconverse the path on the other available path. Any questions so far on the DTLS or TLS or BFD?
The VH will form a tunnel with another VH.
Right.
So
That
is it
would be
full
IPsec.
mesh or how?
Okay. So by default, the
Hello?
behavior is, are you able to see? I mean, are you able to hear me?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Now I
by
can hear you.
Yeah, so by default, the tunnel between the VS to VS will be IPsec, and the type of the tunnel will be built is full mesh, which is a default behavior. So what does it mean by that
Yeah.
full mesh? Is that if we have a 10 sites, all 10 sites will build the tunnel to each other.
Is there
Clear?
any limitation of the SD-WAN that we can have this many tunnels from one
Uh,
VH, or the maximum IPsec tunnel we can have in full mesh connectivity?
there is no restrict limitation, but they talk about that will be specific to the hardware. So which hardware model are you using? That, of course, the convergence of keeping a more BFD would be increasing the bandwidth, will be utilizing the bandwidth, and sending a more BFD tunnel traffic would be a more on those. So what we say is that if we do have a big environment where we don't need a spoke to spoke traffic, I mean, let's say site to site traffic, that's where we go with the hub and spoke. So what we will do is that we say that, okay, all the remote site will point to the hub, and this hub will route the traffic to the other remote spoke site. Did it answer your question?
So in this case, there needs to be two IPsec tunnel if we want to have communication between two VHs. Okay, suppose there is one office in Mumbai and one is in Delhi.
Mm-hmm,
I want to have a communication between these two. And
mm-hmm,
if we configure hub and spoke,
mm-hmm. So let's
and
say,
suppose if
mm-hmm,
center is somewhere in Chennai,
mm-hmm,
so one
yeah,
tunnel will form Mumbai to Chennai and one
so yeah,
to
like you said, is that one
Delhi.
tunnel will be formed from Mumbai to Chennai, other tunnel will form from Delhi to Chennai. So your traffic will now go to the from Delhi to Chennai and then route back to the Mumbai in a hub and spoke scenario, right?
Yeah.
But we do that type of the deployment when we know that our business type is in a way that we don't need to send a traffic so frequently between the remote sites. So for an example, if you are in a banking environment where remote banks doesn't talk to the banks, I mean, other branch, usually they talk to their data center, they talk to the other, right? So what you will do is that you will set up a hub and a spoke, and we'll say that all the traffic will go to the hub. In case of they still want to talk, they can, they have some minor traffic, let's say 2 3 MB in an entire day, that can go direct by the hub, right? So that's how you can reduce the overhead of the BFD tunnels and IPsec. Right?
Okay.
Yep. Any other question, guys? Okay. I have a question for you guys. Who is responsible for orchestration?
V-bond.
Do you have any idea what's the parameter we want check when the device try to join?
Certificate. The
Good.
serial number.
Awesome.
We need to whitelist the serial number.
Mhm.
Okay, that this device is needs to be connected to the fabric. So first we need to add, and
Yeah.
I think we need to have valid certificate also.
Right. Good, good. Any other try? Anyone want to add anything?
Sorry, what's the question? Who's
So the
orchestrating
question,
or who is sending that
the,
control plane messages?
so the question is that what's the parameter we want check when it got any request for orchestration?
To authenticate. Okay, so yeah, yeah, certificates between the
Mhm.
VBON and the certificates, the root certificate and, on VBON and the device certificate on VH.
Mhm. What else?
Hmm. Whitelist of
He
the devices, whitelisted.
he is missing one more important information which probably you guys can bring in notice.
Um,
So far he have given the information is true. I want you guys to add something more. Okay, no worries. We will see that that is into the upcoming few of the slides. Uh, okay. Mm, Who is the responsible for what? Okay, what's the protocol which run between the VH and vSmart for exchanging the control and plan information?
OMP.
Okay.
no,
Mhm. Who else?
so initially, information is exchanged between by DTLS tunnels. So initially, you
Mhm.
have the TTLS tunnel between VH into the vSmart. So that's where you have
Mhm.
the tunnel information.
Right.
And then over the tunnels, so you have these protocols exchanged.
Mhm.
So whatever OMP or everything runs over that tunnel.
Mhm. Yeah. So OMP is the protocol which run over between the VSs and vSmart, of course, over this DTLS tunnel, which is being built up from the VH to the controllers, right? From the VH to the vSmart, right? Good, good to know that. Let's move on the color. On the VS router, the color attribute helps to identify individual WAN transport tunnel. You cannot use the same color twice on the single VS router. Color by themselves have a significance. So what does it mean by that? Is that if you remember on Cisco iOS, specifically I'm talking about the Cisco iOS because I'm not too much sure about the Juniper and other, is when you have a, a s- I mean you are working into the global routing and you assign the same subnet IP address twice on two different interface, what's the error message you get? So you're assigning the duplicate subnet IP address on the same device. on two different interfaces. So it provide you it throw a message that the duplicate subnet is being used on other interface, right? Similarly, we cannot use the same color twice on the same single VH. So for an example, I cannot give the biz internet on the gig 0/0 and then again gig 0/1 biz internet. I can have a one color once on the one VH. So if I have already used the biz internet on G0/0, I should be using other color, which could be a public internet or anything on G0/1, right? Indeed, I cannot keep the default color twice on the on the same VH, right? So the colors, Metro Ethernet, MPLS, private 1, private 2, private 3, private 4, 5, 6 are considered as a private color, and they are the public color, which are the 3G, 4G, blue, bronze, gold, LTE public, and all these colors are being called as a public color. Now, can anyone of help me to understand what is the difference between the private color versus the public color? Try, guys.
So the
Uh-huh.
color.
Depending upon the transport medium you're using.
Mhm.
So in case of private, is private your MPLS links or VPLS links. So you give a private IP range, and then public is like your ADSL or 5G, 4G lines, where they break out locally
No,
for
that's
internet.
true. That's good hit. Any other clue? Let's say, let me ask you a question in the different way. Let's say you are working for a corporate which have three different MPLS provider working in their entire infrastructure. Let's say Airtel, Vodafone, and BSNL. Okay, all three are the MPLS provider which we are using some either way, that okay, one I'm using in India, other I'm using in some other location or some different regions. Okay, now all these different MPLS providers are further connected to my data center. In all three are connected to my data center. So what I'm saying is that okay, if the traffic is coming from the Tata, will come to my data center and it want to talk to the a site which is having the BSNL, it will come to my data center and then my data center will route back to the other. So the the different provider transition is happening in my data center. Okay, now help me to understand that when you are working on designing the SD-WAN, what are the possible color you will choose for different providers and how you will design this kind of the high level solution. And I'm just asking specifically from the color point of view.
Use private one, and for the BSNL we can use private two, because at the data center you will be having two MPLS link. One is Tata and one is BSNL.
Mm-hmm.
So we can give Tata's private one and private two
Mm-hmm.
to the BSNL. At the branch end, we can have like similar private one for Tata, and for the other remote site we can have private two where it is having BSNL.
Awesome. I think I got the answer. So for those who didn't get this, I'll quickly explain. So let's see. Hey, I'm sorry. Let me take pen again. I do have pen. So let's say I have one service provider. I have another service provider, and I have a third service provider. Let's assume I do have a, I have one site here in Delhi, okay, and another site is in Delhi. That's where I was using let's say BSNL, okay, for an example. And here I was using a Vodafone, and that's where, let's say, this is was into the Chennai region, two sides.
Mhm.
Okay, and another CH. Just assume that. Okay, don't think that it is a practical, but I'm telling you the example. And here I do have another two sites in the Karnataka, which may be anything else. Okay, now I have my data center here also in the Chennai. Okay, and my data center is basically getting all the different providers. mm, DC, and this one was, let's see, Airtel or whatever. Okay, now what will happen is that my traffic from this one legacy world was going like this, or like this, right? Now I need to design the event for this one. What I need to do is that I will give the private one, let's see, for this one, whichever circuit which is belonging from the BSNL will have the private. What does it mean? Whenever the BFD or IPsec tunnels will be built up, they will be built up within the private color one only, so that they can directly talk to each other. And rest I will be, so what does it mean by that? If this want to talk to this, they can directly come here. But if this want to talk to the other, they will be getting a default route from this data center, or full routing from the data center to this one, and then private 2 for this one, and private 3 for this one. So when the traffic is trying to go to the one service provider to the other service provider, still my transition will happen at the data center. But if it when it is within the same service provider, it will be routed. Why I'm doing this is that my one service provider cannot make the tunnel to the other service provider, because they are not transit directly connected to each other. They are at the end of the day going to my data center. So there is no point of building up the BFD or IPsec for all of them and routing towards to the data center and then routing back, right? So what I'm building up is that I'm saying that, okay, I have assigned the different color for each of the provider, and let them build the IPsec or BFD within those. And if they want to go to the other side, they will go to the transit location, and then transit location will route back to the other. Is that clear, guys?
Yes.
Awesome. So public color is, like you guys mentioned, is that public is the color where you are expecting, you are receiving any kind of the public circuit which is not dedicated circuit for you, right? Is the shared based circuit. That's where you will be receiving the public IP address. You will implement the public color. Where you are receiving the private IP address, you will implement the private color. Why? Because on the public color you will implement the net to send any of the traffic which is coming from the private subnet. But for the private, you can advertise the private into the private cloud, because at the end of the day, that is your private cloud, right? All right. So moving on, deploying controllers.
So
So
if you
yeah,
sorry,
go
question
ahead.
there is, I just thought, when you based on T-lock,
Hmm.
your color is identified. So how does it know public or private IP? So only you're just giving that's a naming convention because
Hmm.
to identify yourself. The
Hmm.
system doesn't recognize what IP it is unless you tell how to route it.
Hmm. Okay. So to answer is that there is only a difference in regards of the net when it comes on the public or private. Let me answer you in a different way and putting all together the scenario. Okay, so let's think of uh, I have a private circuit which is, let's see, MPLS, and I do have a internet. Okay, Now let's see, I have a one VH here. Okay. And I have another VH here, which both are on the same location, on same site into the same segment. And then further we have 1 and 2. Okay. Now let's say I want to build a something called a T-lock extension, which I will cover in a future. Uh, and I have some more site which are, on this one. Let's say like this and like this. Now let's see, if I want to make the IPsec tunnel from this guy, it is my public IP address because internet can build up on this, right? But if I want to make the extend this circuit here on this one, I have only a /30 here, which is being assigned. One is towards the ISP, other one is here. What I will do is that I have to implement the net here on this interface so that my private IP can be translated to the public IP address, and then the tunnel can be built up from here to here over the internet. So what I'm making is that utilizing a private IP address inside of my network, and then further utilizing the net to build the tunnel, because I cannot advertise my private IP address into the internet routing, right? However, if I'm extending MPLS circuit like this and I want to make the tunnel, because this is the a private network, I can still advertise this my private network on this one MPLS, because MPLS is my private segment, right? I can advertise my private range into the private network, right? So what does it mean by that? Public color we use whenever we are receiving a routing, which is or the the public IP address, or we can say the public type of the cloud. However, we use the private when we are receiving the private type of the cloud, where we can exchange our routing indeed whenever it is needed. Does it answer your question? Indeed, I will cover some more this T-lock and all those stuff in next couple of slide.
Yeah, sure. Okay, I think, yeah,
Okay.
understood. Fine.
Uh, Next we have a deployment. So for the deployment, it's the simple is that you can download the software image from the Cisco website. You can import the OBA file from there in your ESX server for the controller deployment, and perform the installation of the initial. That's where what you need is the connectivity, IP, DNS gateway, and then there is the other information which is important is the system IP address, which is again the unique IP address, which I'll cover in a moment, and the site ID. Site ID is again the unique ID number for XYZ site. So for an example, if you have a one site in Delhi, uh, that there would be a one site ID will be allocated to that. If you have the other site ID, a site into the Noida, then your other site ID will be allocated to that. This is a number, digit based number, which you can use either of them. But when you are dealing with the huge environment, you have to plan the site ID at a big scale, and need to make sure that how you can scale up the sites for the different. That's I'll show you in a moment the high level document, okay, which Cisco has put all together. Next we have the organization name. That's the another important attributes. There is my cursor. So organization name is the another attribute which is validated when any of the devices being authenticated, either the controller or the VH. So the one you were missing was the organization name. The organization name tell that, okay, the device or the fabric belong from this corporate or from this organization, right? So that has to be a unique and has to be a same across your fabric. What does it mean by that? All your devices which are joining that fabric should have the same organization name, apart from those certificate and the serial number, chassis number, right? Next, what we have the bond address. Bond is the same which you we talk about the orchestrator, right? So this would be the first hoop where the device will hit that, hey, I am trying to join. Can you see that can you allow me inside of it? And it will quickly check, okay, let me pull out your serial number, chassis number, organization name, and if all is well, let me join let me forward you to vmanage. Vmanage will post the configuration, let you forward to vsmart, and then you are ready to join the SD-WAN fabric. NTP is the another attribute which we mention usually, because the NTP, if the NTP is not in sync, the certificate will sometime create a problem, and that's where it will not work, right? Next is the type of the root cert chain. I mean, the type of the certificate which you are using is that either you are using the Symantec, or you which Symantec slash DG cert, or you are using the enterprise root CA. Uh, you need the certificate of that, right? So if you are using the Symantec, the certificate is already pre-built installed into the, when I say the certificate is the root cert chain, is pre-built installed into the VH software. If you are using the enterprise root cert chain, you have to install your root cert chain every time manually. Okay. And here is the performing vmanage database installation. There the vmanage will power on. You will put the it will ask you for the database format. That's where you will select the HTTP, and you will format as an by, and this will be formatted. So far we have covered quickly the high level theory of the background, that what the controller and how does it work. We will cover into the next step, if after completion of the sum of the lab part. Let me know if you guys have any question until now. Are you guys able to hear me?
Somik, one question.
Yep.
Suppose your site is having one MPLS link and one internet link,
Okay.
and suppose my data center is having MPLS also and internet.
Okay.
So how many tunnels it will be forming?
So one thing is that how we configure in that manner is that we configure MPLS is something called a restrict keyword, which says that the tunnel will be built between the MPLS to MPLS color, and we configure the internet as an open, so that in case of any other internet they can build the. So in to answer your question, if you have one vh on both of the location, you will have two tunnel at both places. If you have more than one vh, then your tunnel will be depending or will be increased based on that.
Any case, is there any possibility of forming a tunnel between the MPLS link and the internet?
It is possible, but this will increase the latency and will increase the complexity of your network. How it is, why I'm saying is that, because of course MPLS you will not directly connect to your internet, right? What you will take is that all the way to your data center, and then your data center firewall will net it to, and then will forward to the internet. That's where you can open the required flow, you can do the implement the required netting and all those stuff. You can build it, but that's never suggested.
Okay.
Okay. Because of course MPLS is a private network, and you can build between the two different internet. So if you have the Airtel and you have the BSNL, you can have the cross tunnel, like one, let's say you have given the Airtel as in a biz and other one as in a public. You can have biz to public tunnel and public to biz tunnel, but it is not recommended when it is a MPLS to internet, right? Any other questions so far? Okay, let's take a quick break, and then we will meet for lab, and then we will plan further accordingly. Okay, so we will be back by 17:30, and further we will continue on the lab. Okay.